And welcome to another edition of the LSU Report. A few days later than normal. Obviously we usually try and do it on a Thursday. It wasn't possible this week, but I thought, hey, let's do it Saturday. Better late than never. You'll still get a show. Bonus, it's just me, so it's not going to be the usual hour and a half long one that it is either. So I'm not going to delay and chit chat too long. We're just going to get straight into this to give you a good show and let you listen to it before the games start tomorrow. So I'll start off as always with the league news, and hopefully you can see my screen a lot better today than you can before. We're going to obviously try and get better each week with this, so hopefully it's coming through okay for you. So we'll just take a look at the injuries first. So going down Gridiron Gang. Gridiron Gang lost their 5th player of the season in a row to injured reserve. 4th week in a row they've lost someone to injured reserve. Last week Chris Carson got a really nasty ankle injury, so he's done for the year now. Around that, Charles Clay, he's not practicing, but he usually needs a lot of rest during the season. Rex Burkhead missed Thursday's game with his rib injury. Should be able to return next week, though. Jarrett McKinnon, he suffered an ankle injury. He should be good to go this weekend. Wendell Smallwood, however, had knee swelling in his knee, funnily enough, on Wednesday, Thursday, and did not practice Friday either. He is questionable, but probably will not play. On Tom's Tyrant's side of the ball, they're looking good. Andrew Luck is out, obviously still coming back from that shoulder injury. Word is he'll be practicing more next week. Don't think he'll play, but we'll have to see. John Brown, questionable with that continued quad strain, but he played last week, so he should be fine this week. Murray Cooper's full practice as well, he'll be fine. And Doug Martin is actually off of suspended now. He's just off the bottom of the screen here, but he can be activated off of the suspended list whenever Tom wants. So moving on to Ixsan, Ezekiel at full practice, nothing wrong with him. Sammy Watkins full practice as well, he'll be good to go. Sujo Porozis is doubtful with a leg injury, he probably won't play. Jimmy Graham, full practice, he'll be fine. Matt Forte has already been ruled out with a toe injury, so that's all there is to say about that. Cash for Gold, Cam Newton, limited practice, obviously still coming back from that shoulder surgery. JJ, full participant, I believe he was taken off the injury report. He's had that kind of knee problem all year, but he'll be fine. Doug Bolden, full practice, he had that groin thing, but he played last week, so he'll be good to go this weekend too. Jamal Williams also hurt his knee in last week's game. He's a full participant though, he should be good to go. On the Dream Team, Amir Abdullah, full practice, he had an ankle injury, but he'll be fine for Sunday's game. Beckham suffered a couple of injuries in last week's game. One was a dislocated finger, and I believe he also suffered a ankle injury, but he'll be fine for this week's game. Nothing else to talk about there. Pakistan, Frank Gore did not practice, just a rest day for an old veteran. Apart from that, they're fine. Melvin Gordon, full participant, he's good. Kelvin Benjamin, limited practice. He was a bit banged up. I don't think he may have played last week, not sure, but I'm pretty sure he'll play this week. Tanky McTankface, Ben Watson questionable, he's had a calf injury, but he should be good to go. Devontae Adams questionable with a concussion, took a nasty hit in the game last week. I don't think he will play, one to keep an eye on, he might do, but I personally be surprised if he did. Other than that, okay, then Ben Assistis, Ty Montgomery, he's probably not going to play with that rib injury he suffered last week. Brandon Marsh, full participant, as is Crabtree, who's coming back from that chest injury. They both should be good to play. That is your injury update. Brief, swift, just how we like it. Not a lot of serious ones this week, other than my team, of course, because every week I get a serious injury apparently, so we'll go straight to the waiver additions now. So right at the bottom here was a big spending week. The biggest, well, outside of ADRZ in week 1, the biggest spending week we have had in free waivers so far, so we'll go through them and have a quick look. So Ben Assistis added Aaron Jones and dropped Brian LaFell. They added Aaron Jones for $16. Sounds like a lot, but quite a few teams still haven't spent much or anything on the season. So, you know, by this point, if you're going from a weekly budget, 16 isn't even at that level. So that makes sense as an ad for Ben Assistis. They've got Ty Montgomery. However, Aaron Jones might not even be the starter, so it's a bit of an issue. Jamal Williams is at least going to probably be in a timeshare, you would figure. Jones showed well, but that was only because Adams went down with an injury as well in the game when Montgomery went down. So $16 is probably a bit rich for my blood. but if he's playing and he fills in, I guess you can justify it. This next one though, Giovanni Bernard, added by Tanky Tankface for $15, and they dropped Eric Decker. That is a horrendous overspend. Bernard is barely getting any touches. He's done well the last couple of weeks. Somewhat luckily, he's got a touchdown and some yardage in both games, but it does not look sustainable. He's only getting a handful of touches each game. $15 is far too much, even if you have got budget left. No one was going to be spending that much on Giovanni Bernard, if anyone was going to be spending anything on him at all. So that is a terrible, terrible move. Don't mind the ad, but terrible decision making in spending that much on him. And again, with Benjamin Watson, $10 on Benjamin Watson. He's not worth $10. There was probably not anyone bidding anything on Benjamin Watson last week. So that's another bad roster move there. In terms of money spent, okay, don't mind the ad, but the money spent is bad, and they dropped Mohamed Sanu for that. Cash for gold added Jamal Williams and dropped Dalvin Cook, who is another injury that he missed. He tore his ACL, unfortunately, in last week's games. That was $10. Again, similar thing here, really big spending week. It's really quite surprising. We haven't seen anything like this so far. But $10 for Jamal Williams for a few weeks. He's going to fill in, might be in a timeshare. We'll see. Pakistan ended Evan Ingram for $8 and dropped Marquise Lee. Maybe there was some knowledge in the league going on this week that everyone knew, everyone was bidding, so that drove the price up. I haven't seen anything of it because, quite frankly, this is a lot more than people have been spending to this point. Evan Ingram, again, don't mind the ad. He's been a solid, looked like a solid Titan so far, and it's been an underwhelming Giants offense, I think it's fair to say, but he's certainly on the Titan streaming radar, so that's an okay ad, and Pakistan dropped Marquise Lee for that. Pakistan also added Alex Collins, $7. Again, you know, this is a guy that he might not even have the back foot himself. He's had fumbling issues. He could get the work. It's bad offense, $7. I guess it's okay. You know, $7 has been about the rate, I guess, if you want the top free agent. But it's a bit rich for my blood, but we'll see. They dropped Samaje Perine. But Ed has added the Vikings D for $5, dropping Brandon Oliver. Again, it's rich for a D, but I guess if you know, we saw last week with Phil bidding $6 for the Jacksonville defense. That's what you've got to get bid now. I guess the market has been set in the LOC, so that's what you've got to pay to get what you want. But again, a bit surprising, but Ed is doing that when they've got the Ravens D. They may be on a bye, but you know, it's not a great allocation of funds, but they do have a decent matchup this week. Gridiron Gang added Wayne Gorman and dropped the Cincinnati Bengals D for $2. He did well with Paul Perkins getting injured last week, so we'll see what he's able to do in this week's games. What else we got? Bananas added Kaimi Fairbairn and dropped Giorgio Tavecchio. That's really testing my pronunciation here for $1. Gridiron Gang added Eddie Lacy for $1 and dropped Chris Carson, obviously in the wake of the Chris Carson injury. Patterson added Jake Elliott for nothing and dropped Derek Carr. Gridiron Gang added Jerick McKinnon for nothing and dropped Carson Palmer. Tanky Tankface added Stephen Hauschka and dropped down Bailey. And that's all there. And what else we got? Tanky Tankface added Buffalo Bills defense and dropped the Jags defense. A week after spending $6 on them, people. That's not a good return on investment. Foot Flyers added the Lions D and dropped the Cardinals D. And that is not quite it, because Gridiron Gang added Devin Funchess and dropped JJ Nelson, who I paid $7 for early in the season, but he's been a bit banged up and has not done well since. And other guys have emerged. John Brown's come back. Not great return for me there, unfortunately. But then he's re-added Danny Amendola and dropped Tyler Lockett. What else we got? Dream Team added Dan Bailey and dropped Dante Moncrief. Carl Rudolph was added by Tanky Tankface and they dropped Eric Ebron. And Tyler Lockett was added by Tanky Tankface and they dropped the Panthers D. So that is all of your waiver moves this week. Some really interesting ones, as I said. So we'll go straight into last week's matchups now. And since we're already on this one, we'll cover this. Gridiron Gang against Cash for Gold. Entering this game, Gridiron Gang just came off their first win, looking to build on that. While meanwhile, Cash for Gold was just coming off their first loss, looking to turn that around. Cash for Gold, somewhat fortunately, did get to 2-0, but justifiably, they lost the week before, and again here, they lost again, 900 essentially to 73. And this is what Cash for Gold is. We knew they were fortunate to get their first 2 wins. They've yet to top 90 points this season. Another disappointing week. However, I will take the time to point out, they have had a lot of points on the bench. The point total on the bench nearly added up to their actual team total, and obviously they lost Alvin Cook in the game as well. But not a lot to write home about, really. Some okay performances, really boosted by Robbie Gold and Cameron Bray. Other than that, not a lot to talk about. On Gridiron Gang side of the ball, pretty much more of the same. Le'Veon Bell had a great day. He had over 30 points, just over 30 points. And then you had a few chip-in guys, and that got them the win they needed. So Gridiron Gang go to 2-2. Cash for Gold dropped to 2-2, and Gridiron Gang are now 2-0 against Cash for Gold. Our next game, Dream Team against Southampton Narwhals. This was the one we picked for the marquee matchup last week, because it was a co-marquee matchup, because this was a Wembley Bowl game. This has a bit of a rivalry factor to it, and it actually turned out to be a good game. Southampton Narwhals was still searching for their first win of the season. Meanwhile, Dream Team had looked strong the last couple of weeks. The end result was a really close game, one we were not expecting. 97 to 92 in favour of the Dream Team. We'll start with Southampton Narwhals, because we know Southampton Narwhals have firmly been in the Brady or bust strategy pretty much since week 1. It hasn't won them any games yet, but it has actually kept them in games amazingly, and it did this week as well. Brady gets them another 25, and they had an insane performance from the special teams, who got them a whopping 38 points, and Jaquizza Wood just got a decent 10 as well. So, decent outing again, but this is really, I think, the most we're going to be able to see from Southampton Narwhals, with everyone behind Brady being pretty inconsistent and there being some lackluster options in the side. It's not going to be all roses, but if they can put up totals like this, which to be fair they have done for the last few weeks, they should be able to get some wins at some point. Just got to keep on at it. They will get a win at some point, but they're on 4 at the moment. Meanwhile, the Dream Team rolling on to another victory, 97-point performance, good day at the office, consistent effort all round. The big 3 at the top, Breeze, Anderson and Howard, combined for nearly 50 points between them, and then Texans D boosting with another 26 was a great day, so good job by them. They're now 3-1. Southampton Narwhals are 0-4, and the history of that matchup is now 2-1 in favour of the Dream Team. So that's that game covered. Forge Flyers against Bedetonators. Again, this was another one of the co-marquee matchups of last week, because these two have been at the top of the power rankings now for pretty much, the last few weeks. They've both looked like the best 2 teams. They're both in the same division. So this was going to be a good one. Entering the game, Forge Flyers was undefeated, 3-0. Bedetonators could have arguably been undefeated, but didn't have luck fall their way, and that they were sitting at 1-2, hoping to get a win and slow down the division lead. That didn't end up that way. Forge Flyers won it 107 to 97, and as I said last week, for some reason, sometimes when you've got a good team, the luck just does not fall your way. You can put up loads of points. Happened to me last year, where I went over 90 points, I think, for 9 weeks in a row, and I lost, I think, more games than I won. Same thing is happening for Bedetonators here. They're 1-3 to start the season through no fault of their own. They've just had tough opposition. It was a good day at the office. Deshaun Watson really did save them, though I will say this. He accounted for nearly half of their points with 41. But they are better than this. There were also options on the bench, so the wins will come at some point. But as I said, we do see these unlucky teams each year, and even though they've got the team, maybe it's just not going to be the Detonators' year. On the other side of the ball, Forge Flyers definitely looks like it's going to be their year, because they have looked like the real deal, and they have not had the bad luck. After a few bad years, they had a decent year last year, and now they're really built off of that. Started 4-0, the only undefeated team left, and they're looking great. 107 points, consistent effort all round, and they should keep steamrolling. So good on them, and this really did change the fortune of the matchup. Entering this, Forge Flyers were 3-7, I believe, against Bedetonators. Let's just bring that up to check. Where are we? Forge Flyers, they were, now they're 4-7, so numbers don't lie. in this case it bent a little bit, but Forge came out with a win. Next game then, Pakistan against Ben Necessities. This was another important divisional matchup. Ben Necessities entering this game were also undefeated. Pakistan needed to get a W to keep up and keep the division close. And that's exactly what they did, because they won this one 92-85. Looking at Ben Necessities, as I said in the power rankings last week, this team's strategy is firmly Packers or panic. You're welcome for that great hashtag, by the way. And it was panic this week, because Aaron Rodgers had a great day. He got 31 points. Montgomery gets injured, however. Cobb gets, a decent performance, 10 points. Crosby only gets 5 and Bennett only gets 4. Not a great day by the Packers, even though they were up 53-0 after the Thursday night game. Really didn't come through for them, because the other guys on the roster really did not do much. On the other side of the ball, Pakistan, they had a bit of a bad week the week before, but they bounced back nicely this week. They're a good, consistent team. They might not be setting the world on fire each week, but they're going to get the points and they're going to get the wins through that. So a good win by Pakistan, and they've now brought this match up to 2-1. They are now 2-1 against Ben Necessities. So there you go. Good job by Pakistan. What else we got? So we got Tom's Tyrants against ADRZ. Tom has been on a bit of a slide. ADRZ has had a bit of a mixed bag of the start of the season as well. That entire Winchester division is a bit of a head case at the moment. But this one, it ended up 118-79 in favour of ADRZ. Starting on Tom Tyrant's side of the ball, they made a heroic play of Jay Cutler, who was in the Wembley game, who had a really good match against the Saints. Just did not deliver 5 points. Bilal Powell was amazingly the team's best player this week. He got 25, which really bailed them out from what would have been an ugly week. Cooper Kupp got 12, Allen got 13. Special teams got 19, so okay week with decent quarterback play. This game looks completely different, and the performance for Tom's Tyrants looks completely different, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But they have lost 3 in a row now. Meanwhile, ADRZ, they're sitting at 2-2 with a really good week, 118 points. Russell Wilson coming through. He started the season quite slowly, as he usually does, but from October onwards, he's usually a lot better, and that showed here. He's got 31 points. Special teams, my goodness, 23 points from the kicker, 13 from the DST, giving them 36. That's a great week. Green and Hopkins also combined for near 30 points as well, so good day at the office for them. And ADRZ are now 6-5 against Tom's Tyrants, so that's a pretty close matchup, all things considered. We've got Tanky McTankface against Ixan as well to round out last week's games. Entering this one again, it's another Winchester Division battle where the teams are really still trying to find their feet. Ixan certainly did. Tankface did not, because Ixan won at 138-79. Looking at Tanky McTankface, there was so much optimism for this team after week 2, and it feels like that was eons ago now, because this team just does not look the same. On paper, they've got great players, but questions of usage and effectiveness have really dogged them so far. Devontae Adams getting injured didn't help, but Carson Wentz didn't have a great day. Murray doesn't look like the same player he was. Ingram is in a timeshare where the Saints, for some reason, stick with Adrian Peterson. And they've also got Alvin Kamara. Alshon Jeffrey had an okay day, as did Mike Evans, but really not a lot to write home about. Jags did well as well in a plus matchup against the Jets, 15 points, but just a ho-hum week. And again, there are options on the bench, but it'll be interesting to see what Tanky McTankface does the rest of the season. Not on ADR's side of the ball. I think this is the best auto-drafted team of all time. They've been solid and consistent so far, but this week we really saw some explosion from them. Ixan. Not auto-drafted either, ignore all of that. They're just looking good. They've looked a bit shaky to start the season, but 138. Kirk Cousins finally got going. Another quarterback that has a slow start of the season. Lamar Miller in a Houston offense that is actually, for once, dynamic. They're looking pretty good. Lamar Miller is going to benefit from that. Ezekiel Elliott is going to continue to be a solid option as long as he isn't suspended. They both got 25 points apiece. Jordy Nelson, another good day at the office, 20-point game. Travis Kelce, it should really be one of the top titans of fantasy. His usage has been puzzling so far, but it was a good week for him last week, 17. Garrett Blount as well, when he gets touches, more than one touch a game, he generally gets some points. He had a decent day this week, and that led to a really good day for Ixan. So, I have not copied the standings. But I'll summarise it for you. Forge Flyers is 4-0 at the top of the Southampton division. Then you've got Dream Team at 3-1. Detonators are 1-3 in there. And I apologise, I can't remember the last team in that division. Southampton Armors are currently on 4. So there's quite a disparity showing in that division at the moment. But make no mistake, it's a very quality division. The Portsmouth division, Ben SST is currently leading that 3-1, with Pakistan hot on their tail, also at 3-1, and then you've got Gridiron Gang and Cash for God at 2-2, so that's a tight division. Again, there's pretty good quality there. And then you get the Winchester division, which is really puzzling. 2 teams at 2-2, Ixan and ADRZ, and then you've got Tom's Tyrants and Tanky McTankface both at 1-3. That's all up for grabs still, and if someone could step forward, they could probably win that division. I put up a poll that you can vote on so if you think the winner of the Winchester division will have a winning record or not, yes or no. So go and fill that in, because that's a right laugh. We'll skip the power rankings, so you can go check that out. I posted that on Friday, and Edith Locker's Corner was also posted on Friday as well. You can go check those out on the links on the Facebook page, or you can find the LSU Report blog on Blogger as well. You can go and read those. But we'll just dive, before we dive into next week's matchup, so we'll just take a quick look at the milestones of the week. So, Coach Stubbs Sr. notched his 50th regular season loss last week after losing to Pakistan. Have we got anything else here? No more there. Let's see on the career long milestones if we've got anything of note. Nope, doesn't look like it, so that's your only one this week. So we'll just dive straight into next week's games then. So, where are next week's games? There we go. So, I think the marquee matchup of this week, let's choose a marquee matchup. So, what do we got? That's a pretty good one. I'm gonna go with Gridiron Gang v Tom's Tyrants, I think, because both these teams have had an interesting start of the season, a bit of a slow start to some degree. Both of these teams have played in a Corona Bowl, won a Corona Bowl, played in a Corona Bowl against each other. Corona Bowl 3, Tom's Tyrants took that one. Two of the long-time teams in the league. Gridiron Gang currently 2-2, Tom's Tyrants 1-3. You need to start winning the games early, because it is harder to catch up. Tom's Tyrants we often see as a team that catches fire late, and Gridiron Gang is one of these kind of teams that's always sniffing around, and whether they get in or not at the end of the season, they haven't done recently. So, crucial to get wins for both of these teams. So, looking at Gridiron Gang, they have Brandon Cooks play on Thursday. Matthew Stafford comes back in the lineup. Wayne Gorman comes in from free agency, the starter in the wake of the Chris Carson loss. Devin Funchess is also in the flex in the wake of Wendell Small, having that knee problem and probably not playing. They've got Damaris Thomas on a bye as well. So that's that. On Tom's Tyrants' side of the ball, they yet remain unchanged. As you can see, they've still got Chris Thompson in their bye. Unfortunately for them, they have left Doug Martin in their reserve spot, who had a pretty decent night on Thursday night. As you can see, Brandon Cook's got 8.5 as well, so that's things a bit. Currently, they don't have another quarterback option on the bench for Cutler, so whether they stick with him or not, we'll see. At present, this could be a bit of an ugly game, with Gridiron Gang missing Damaris Thomas on a bye, again suffering another injury. It's difficult for them to bounce back straight away. On the other side of the ball, yeah, as I said, the side still is not complete. Things have not been firing a lot for Tom's Tyrants so far, so this is probably going to be a nitty-gritty game. I would say Gridiron Gang will probably take this one, but really it could go either way. The history of this matchup, Gridiron Gang are 4-5 against Tom's Tyrants, so it could go either way. So that's that game. Let's move on now to Ixan v Southampton Narwhals. Again, this is the case of Southampton Narwhals still searching for their first win of the season. I'm not sure a team's gone 0-4 and made the playoffs. I think it might have happened once or twice, but it's a really tall order. And right now, the state of Southampton Narwhals roster does not look like they can do that. On the other side of the ball, Ixan, they're 2-2. I believe they're currently leading or tying the Winchester division. Again, the wins are crucial in this division because, you know, one win could make all the difference come season end, and if you get your nose out, it will probably be hard for other teams to catch up. Looking at the rosters, Southampton Arms are unchanged. They had 3 players in the Thursday night game, that 29 points overall, not the best of starts. Could have been a lot worse. Paul Perkins is currently out and he is in their starting lineup, so they need to get that changed. But currently, they don't have many great bench options to go to. On the other side of the ball, Ixan, I believe they've got Tyra Taylor in at quarterback for Kirk Cousins, who's in a bye. They're missing quite a few players through bye this week. Outside of that, Sammy Watkins comes into the starting lineup. And apart from that, unchanged. They got 3 points from a Patriots defense who's like putrid. I'm not sure why they still have the Patriots defense, to be honest, on the Thursday night game. But even that being the case, I think Ixan should have enough talent to see off Southampton Normals. The history of this game, Ixan are 4-1 all time against the Brady Bunch, so they should probably take that with ease. With Southampton Normals' best weapon, Tom Brady, being out of the picture early. So that's that game. What else we got for you this week? Cash for Gold against the Dream Team. It's kind of an interesting matchup as well. Cash for Gold, they're 2-2, lost 2 on the trot now. They're going to be obviously looking to bounce back. Meanwhile, the Dream Team, they're 3-1. Have won 3 in a row. They're going to look to keep on building that, and they need the wins because Forge Flyers is 4-0 in that division. They need to keep up. Looking down the roster, Cam Newton comes into the lineup for Cash for Gold as Matt Ryan is on a bye. Tariq Cohen comes into the starting lineup as well. What else we got? Cameron Brake played on Thursday night with 13 points. Rashad Matthews in the flex. On the other side of the ball, the Dream Team, they've got Eli Manning starting at quarterback with Drew Brees on a bye. Who else has changed? I don't think much else has changed apart from that. They had Deshaun Jackson get 10 points in the Thursday night game. This could be a close game, assuming Cash for Gold actually plays the bench players that score points, which they don't really have much flex with that this week because of byes, but there are a few names on the bench, Mateus Bryant, Aguilar and Henry, who could upset and lead them to leave points on the bench again. But the lineup looks good. They've had a bit of a bad start, but I think their net total is a lot better than what we've seen. Meanwhile, the Dream Team, they've been pretty good for the last few weeks in a row. It's a solid side with a bit of inconsistency built in. Eli Manning, I'm not a great fan of that. He's playing the Chargers at home, which is good, but we'll have to see how the Giants' offense looks on the day. But ultimately, I think, you know, even outside of that, Dream Team has some quality players and they should have the talent to hold off Cash for Gold. I don't think it's going to be a big margin game because just looking down, Abdullah's playing Carolina, Howard's playing Minnesota. There's a couple of tough matchups there. Beckham's playing the Chargers, who have a pretty good secondary, so could be an interesting one. Interestingly, we've got Cohen against Howard, so the Bears' backfield against the Vikings. Typically, against the good run defenses, the scout backs do better than the traditional power backs, so that'll be a matchup to watch, but I think Cash for Gold can probably take this one. History of this matchup, the Dream Team are 1-1 against Cash for Gold all time, so haven't played each other a lot. Split down the middle, could go either way. Palestine against Badennaders now. This is really another contender for marquee matchup of the week. Both these teams have looked like 2 of the best teams to start the season, but the story for them could not be the opposite. Palestine are 3-1. They're in second place in the division, creeping. Well, actually, they're tied for the lead. With a win, they could potentially move into sole possession. But Detonators, meanwhile, arguably should be undefeated. They've not had some luck. They've had some good performances, but they sit at 1-3. Losing these early wins can really cost a team, even the good teams that have the ammunition to get a few wins late. So it's really crucial that Detonators starts winning. Pakistan, let's take a look here. They've got a lot of buys this week as well. Dak Prescott's in the lineup for Derek Carr, who got injured last week. What else have we got? Chris Hogan came in and had a decent performance Thursday night with 13 points. Evan Ingram straight from the waiver to tight end starting for them. Let's look at the side of the ball. Jameis Winston, they played him on Thursday night. He got them 20 points, so that's a decent start. Kareem Hunt's obviously in the lineup. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot of change there. It's a solid team. It really is a solid team. They've had a great start. They've just been unfortunate in the games. And I think Bedenators pick up a win here because last week I went with Forged Flies because of the luck situation, but I was thinking, a mix of bad luck and the fact that Forged Flies do look like arguably the best team in the league right now. Pakistan aren't quite on that level. Oh, excuse me, folks. Pakistan aren't quite on that level. So I think this is a game where Bedenators kind of reverses their bad fortune and they get a win here. The history of this matchup. Let's take a look. Bedenators are 1-2 against Pakistan all the time, so they haven't played each other a lot. So I think Bedenators could take this one. Tanky McTank faced against Bare Necessities now. Again, this it's an old school matchup. It's two of the founding teams. Tanky McTank face, they're 1-3. Sorry, they really need to start to get the wins going. Even though the division is close right now, that can change at a moment's notice. Bare Necessities are 3-1, lost their first game of the season last week. They'll be looking to win to reaffirm their hold on the Portsmouth division. Looking down the lineups, Tanky McTank face Giovanni Bernard straight in the starting lineup. They have got a lot of buys this week, especially at the running back position, so that probably explains the desperate spending on Giovanni Bernard. They played Mike Evans on Thursday night. He got 5 points. It's not great, but it's not an absolute killer. Benjamin Watson in at tight end. Devontae Adams currently in the moment, but we'll have to watch for final confirmation if he plays or not. But then Bare Necessities side of the ball, they had James White play on Thursday. They're missing Devontae Freeman through a bye. He got 6 points, which is okay. Aaron Jones is also in the starting lineup. That could be a speculative play right there. Other than that, Michael Crabtree is back in the starting lineup as well. And other than that, unchanged. This is a tricky one to pick because neither of these teams are really at full strength. There are some very not nice matchups here. So when that is the case, I think you've just got to go with quality, and I think more of the quality resides on Bare Necessities' side of the ball in this particular game. The history of this matchup is... My thing is not updating. There we go. Bare Necessities are 7-5 against the Tug Cards as well. Obviously, they're 3-1. They've had a good performance. They are Packers or Panic. Who are the Packers playing this week? The Packers are playing Dallas, so that's a pretty plus matchup as well. So I'm going to go with Bare Necessities. So this one. And then our last matchup of the week. That's not a matchup. That is ADLZ take on Forged Flyers. So the last undefeated team to go 4-0, Forged Flyers take on the 2-2 division leading ADLZ. So or division tying ADLZ. So this is an interesting matchup, but I think it's already gone in one team's favour, as we're about to see why in a second. ADLZ have not changed their team yet, and that's going to cost them because they started Rob Gronkowski, who was not active for Thursday's night game. Mike Gillislee got 5 points as well, which stung. And currently, Denver Broncos D is in the lineup, but they're on a bye, so they're not going to get many points either if that stays the same. On the bench, they've got a few players missing through injury and bye weeks as well. I missed this team in injury update, so we'll just circle back and do this. Kenny Golladay has already been ruled out. Terrell Williams is questionable. Looking at Forged Flyers side of the ball, they've got a lot of full practice who will play. Macklin's questionable, but I think he'll play. Merritt is questionable with a hamstring. I don't think he'll play, but he is a game-time decision. So back to ADLZ. Yeah, I'm not in love with the team this week. They haven't changed it. They're already a player down. It's not looking pretty for them. On the other side of the ball, Forged Flyers, they're playing Ben Roethlisberger at home. Traditionally, when he's good, they're playing Jacksonville's defense, who are good, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. Outside of that, what's going on? Will Fuller's in the starting lineup who they added last week. They've got a couple of receivers on a bye, so he's probably just a bye week filler for them. Austin for Safarian Jenkins is starting a tight end for them, which is hilarious. He could be a good option, to be fair, especially against Cleveland. So, looking down, yeah, I think it's clear. You got to go with Forged Flyers for this game. They've got the talent. They're 4-0 for a reason. They haven't been hurt by any of the Thursday night games. ADLZ are already a player down in Gronkowski. Gillisley didn't do great, and obviously they've got a defence in on a bye at the moment. There are no team-changing powers retroactively now, so you don't put a player in, you leave a player in. Tough. That's how we decided to do it. Makes everything simpler and arguably fairer. But in this case, it's going to hurt Eddie Ozzy's chances for this week, and Forge Flies should end up winning this game. The history of this matchup, we'll just have a quick look at that. It's 5-5, split down the middle, so I would imagine that's going to be a 6 for Forge Flies after this. So, and that is your whistle stop LOC Report solo podcast. Hopefully you could see the screen a lot better this time. Good luck for the games on Sunday, which is tomorrow. We should be back, regular programming on Thursday. Until then, have a good weekend. Hope to see you tomorrow if you're around. Good luck for the games. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.